Hello and welcome to another edition of the Fervent Four Show. Delighted to be reunited with my man Double J, Jeff Johnson. How's it going?
Hey, it's great, Zach. Hey, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah,
do people ever call you Jeff Johnson? Sorry. Do people ever call you Double J? Sorry, is what I meant.
Hey, I've been called anything, and you're probably not old enough. Used to be this show that goes, you can call me Ray, you can call me Jay.
That's
but
right.
You doesn't have to call me Johnson. There are going to be a few viewers on here who are going to look that up. And so I don't care, Zach. You know me well enough. You can call me Double J. How about that?
There you go. I have a friend named Jeremy Johnson. I call him Double J.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do. And I don't know why. I just think I think there's a wrestling thing in there somewhere. There's a wrestler that went by Double J, I think. But we're not going to get into wrestling today.
We're good, my man. We're good.
Yeah. Welcome, Jeff. Been a long time. We've been plotting this for a little bit and finally happened.
Hey, so this is funny. So I probably remember. Okay, so when did the Fervent Four start?
This is episode
March of 2020.
Yeah, right when everything shut down. This is episode 119.
Oh, wow. Wow. So I remember the beginnings of the conversations you were having around doing this. And, good things take time. So what were we, 119? Is that what I heard?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was supposed to be 117, I think.
Yep.
And
we invited you to the show at episode 20, but it took you that long to want to come on. You're waiting for it to mature a little bit.
Okay. All right. So it took me a while. First, I had to grow this beard, Zach, which you don't remember when we started. So
it
looks nice and fresh. To get it.
Yeah, yeah. It looks nice and fresh. I like it. I dig it.
Hey, but first of all, to you and to the viewers, I need to apologize because I got terribly sick before 117. And I'm texting my assistant, Kelly, who's amazing. And I'm imagining that she's on here now. So Kelly Jones she's just an amazing assistant. So I'm texting her. It's not COVID, everybody. Thank goodness it wasn't COVID, but it was a disaster. I would have been worse than I am now, guys. So there you go.
Well, we need positive, high energy, Double J, Jeff Johnson, and
that's right.
We're glad you postponed. It's quite all right.
Yeah, man. Right. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Are you a Hokie?
I am a Hokie.
That's unfortunate.
That's the paraphernalia that's there. I didn't overwhelm you with my Chicago maroon wall behind me. I just wanted to keep it subtle. And since we have like an orange title around it, so that's like burnt orange. So other than that, it's Hokie through and through, my friend.
Yeah, when we were first scheduling you, Zach and I were talking about you and just the amount of travel that you do between here and Blacksburg. And at some point, they're just going to rename part of that stretch after you, I would think, because it does seem like
Double J Highway.
Double J Highway. I like that.
Because so you do split time, though. You do travel back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah, as many people may or may not know, we're an outgrowth of the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center adjacent to the Virginia Tech, the university. And so many people may not know that we make that trip, or at least that I make that trip very often back and forth to what we call part of the enterprise. So, that whole 64 to 81, is unbelievable. But I will say this publicly. I think I'm becoming a wimp or soft because I have been driving 81, and I'm not going to let you guys for years. But there's something about 81 now, 81 South. It's just unbelievable, and it is a white knuckle ride these days. So
really,
is 81 the one with all the trucks?
Yeah.
Is that what makes it tough?
The mountains and the truck, and the weather. So, but I'm not complaining. It's a great ride. But I do have friends in places that do things like vertical takeoff and landing. Since we're going to be talking about innovation, I was thinking, hey, there's got to be a way to pick me up here at Tech Center, shoot me across the Blue Ridge and Allegheny Mountains, drop me down on that plateau, let me do my thing, and bring me back home for dinner. What do you think?
Well, if not up, I mean, what's that loop? the Hyperloop. Is that thing still going on?
I
Yeah.
don't know. These would
Well,
be that like
Yeah.
like in the military. I guess there would be those Ospreys, right? Don't they do a vertical takeoff? And
Yeah,
for our military,
I
yes,
think
and then they'll shoot me
that
across.
I think those VTOLs, I mean, they're in testing right now, and they're scheduled to, yeah, they're still rolling. Well, flying, I should say. Yeah, vertical takeoff and landing.
Yeah,
But I
that's
think that they're going to start in primarily over like water, just take the human element out of everything. But yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
that would be cool. So yeah, you're right, Tim. That trip, I make that trip, and really cool to do it because going between two different regions and getting a chance to see how getting a chance and a feel for that region versus our region. And then we'll probably talk about the third one, which is up in Northern Virginia, which again we look to make part of our whole enterprise that allows us to cover the state.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you think about, at least what I do, when I think about the word innovation, I think about maybe college towns or colleges. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I don't think of the region that we all live in, the Hampton Roads, Norfolk, Virginia Beach region. I don't think of that as a college town. Obviously, Blacksburg is. Is innovation and college towns kind of synonymous with each other, or what are your thoughts on kind of that? And if so, why is it that innovation and college towns coincide?
The world according to Jeff, that's my disclaimer, but here we go. I mean, I kind of think that college towns is a place where great ideas and great minds converge around problems, solutions, challenges, issues. And any place where you got a gathering around problems, there is a natural thirst for solutions, and solutions breed innovation. And so if you think about it, Zach, yes, historically universities, but the beauty of where we sit is we sit in a region that is ripe with a ton of innovation, which was really part of the strategic thinking in doing what we're doing here for that reason.
Yeah, I wanted to touch base on the background in terms of what research went into it, because back in the day, there was this little plot of land in Newport News. There was just, I think it's on one of the busiest intersections in the entire state.
True.
And that was undeveloped for a long, long time. Then all of a sudden, trees started getting cleared, and then this thing called Tech Center.
Oh, did you freeze, or was that me?
No, you're good.
I heard all of a sudden,
Tech Center started popping up, trees started going down, and what was some of the what research went into it?
Okay,
and what's the beginnings of everything?
Yeah, when you think about it, as we think about innovation and entrepreneurship, it all starts from a passion, a purpose, some sort of problem, and integrating that passion, purpose, problem in with innovation can create a great opportunity. And so the thought process was, hey, we have this corporate research center in Blacksburg, the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. That's run by Dr. Brett Malone and formerly Joe Meredith, and visionaries who said, hey, what is that doing? Well, it's a place where innovation can actually land and grow. Innovation primarily coming out of early stage, coming out of the university. I said, wait a minute. So what's happening there? Well, we have over 1 million or so square feet of space, and we've grown into over 5,000 tech jobs, and we're creating unbelievable innovation coming out here. And so the question becomes, wait a minute, we have as much intellectual property and innovation where we sit in our region here in Hampton Roads, and why can't or why shouldn't we be able to do that? So the visionaries behind this, people like W.M. Jordan and John Lawson and our current president and Joe Meredith and the team there said, hey, let's put together a study to look at this opportunity. And the study came back overwhelmingly the ingredients necessary for success sit right here in Hampton Roads. And that's kind of why sort of the early origins, Tim, around the research. And it was overwhelming around what we have here and what opportunities we have. And that's why we thought, hey, let's plant a flag here. And it's going to be a long-term vision. And that's going to be something we'll talk about over the hour. It's not something you stand up where it's immediate. It's going to grow into something. Then it will exponentially take off. But you have to have vision, and you have to take on some risk and challenges.
Yeah,
Tim has said,
go ahead, Zach.
Tim has said, you got to look at it in a 20-year, a long-term vision of anything, right? It's not a year, it's not whatever. It's a long period of time. And so when you look at it, the tech center, I think, probably envisioned before this, but I think you and I met maybe 2015, 2016 time frame.
Yeah, exactly right. 2015,
right?
I got in 2014.
And if you peel back the onion, I got kind of included into the entrepreneurial ecosystem in 2010-ish. We're 12 years into that. We're only halfway, a little more than halfway in that 20-year timeline. And that story has to be sold over that period of time. Do you think when you guys were doing the research to find out, hey, like a lot of the ingredients or all of the ingredients that were here in Blacksburg are actually here, maybe even better in the Hampton Roads area? Is that something that just isn't marketed well? Because you hear about all these things in our region, and it's just like, oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
and it's just is it a marketing thing? Like when you guys got that info, you're just like, wow, like never thought of that.
Well, you know now. I mean, the Hampton Roads is home to me, so we know our challenges. The good news is that we're humble enough to know we could do a better job as a region of marketing ourselves. We got one heck of a story, and you both are part of this story. And
I mean, heck, we're the first. We're like, it wasn't the world found here, whatever. Didn't Christopher Columbus come here? Jamestown. I mean, hello, like.
Yeah.
How do we lose that momentum? Like,
right.
Come on.
Well, because when we think about who we are, right, the pillars of who we are, we've got this amazing port. Yes. We also have this whole tourism piece that you see there. That's a part of it. And of course, we have our shipyard and the history of those kinds of things as well. But what we weren't really talking about was innovation. And we have a ton of innovation here. We're adjacent to Jefferson National Lab, one of 17 DOE labs. It's a single purpose lab. We'll talk probably a little bit about that. And hopefully one day you'll have their director, Stuart Henderson, on here. And Stuart's just a great guy. And what they're doing at the lab is going to be amazing as we tell this story, Zach, that you and Tim are outlining here. And then you have, of course, NASA Langley. And the history of NASA Langley is pretty unbelievable. You may or may not have had people on here. I didn't see them on your list. But we have, and of course, innovation in private companies that are here, as well as individuals around here who are doing amazing things. You guys have had them on here. So I've seen them. That's the story we haven't told, that whole innovation-led, inclusive regional economic development. So when you think of each one of those words in what I just talked about, they're very precise, and they were chosen for a reason. We got that opportunity. Zach and Tim, we haven't really told that story about this with regard to innovation, but it's unfolding, and you're a part of it. And this is where we talk about this whole S curve. When we're growing anything, and the classic penetration curve, we're in that long beginning of that tail. As this thing starts to ramp, we're building our stories now, and this is a part of building that story.
What maybe you can remember, because it's a fascinating stat that we talk about on the peninsula. It was something about we are the #1 location for engineers per capita, something like that. And do you happen to remember what that stat was?
I don't remember the exact number because it fluctuates over whether, it's nuanced, right? So yeah. A third of the PhDs in physics all come through Jefferson Lab. I mean, think about that. So, and maybe Stuart and others will expound upon that. But Tim, whether we have the stat exactly right would cloud the story. The story is there's a disproportionate amount of intellectual capital here that we have an opportunity to harness and create the products and services of a future that makes a difference. We have that. It's up to us now to figure out how to leverage that and take it forward and tell the story.
Right.
Yeah, I just hear the word opportunity when I hear that. I mean, if there's that much talent and people talk about how there's not talent here, it sounds like they got the narrative wrong, and there's just a ton of opportunity to just absolutely skyrocket.
I mean, well, the crazy thing
Whatever,
is, Zach, is that like what's not told or not told enough is that clearly there's a demand. And Jeff, you can touch on occupancy rates, both retail and in the living space within Tech Center. I mean, it's just like it's full.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, Zach, you are right, man. We have the intellectual capital to chart and help chart our future. Now, for those who may be part of this telecast and others who may have heard me say this, we want to build on the core strengths of what we are, but we also want to be aspirational to dream and develop what we can be. In order to do that, we have to take a real assessment of the assets that we have and how we can better leverage those assets to create that vision we want for ourselves. So I think we're sitting on, again, this great opportunity to do it. And I think there's no better time than right now. And this is a great time to be doing what we're doing. But we put in the work. I mean, you guys are on this call. Look, we said back in 2014, we've put in work. We've got a lot of work to do, but you know, we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we were either. And I think it's important for people to know that.
It is great to look back, just to reflect on how much has happened. I mean, just from the beginning of this call, what was once a undeveloped wooded area started with the retail, and that was all very deliberate. You started with where people play, where people live, and then now building out where people work. To see that vision come to reality is really, really cool.
Yeah. So think about that. Okay. So many people, you said something really important, and Zach, okay. The full vision was to create a place where innovation can land and grow, where we can actually create the products and services of the future that'll make a difference. Okay, so that was the real thought process around it. But in order to do that, you needed to surround it with more than just technical assets, scanning electron microscopes, 3D printers, and AI and machine learning. There's a human factor associated with this. And when there's a human factor associated with it, you have to think about where they live and where they play as part of it. So what you mentioned strategically was, hey, envision the retail side of this first, which gives people a place to shop, anchored by Whole Foods, give people a place to get clothing and restaurants, right? A place to to really live. And then when we think about that, a place where you can actually call home. So Venture Apartments and Tech Center is that place. And when you think about these two assets, they are really the amenities that sit in front of the research park. And so it's important for our guests and others to see that vision unfold. It's part of a bigger picture. And to your point, Zach, the time frame associated with this, you don't do in a year. This you have to build out, and you learn as you grow. As you mentioned, the retail prior to COVID was virtually 100% full. The housing was and has been, even through COVID, remained full with waiting lists. We're sitting on our research park building, where I'm actually talking to you guys from, 80,000 square feet, which we can talk about more about place, which is full. And now we have our new building that's coming online. We had a beam signing, as you know, less than 30 days, and a big party, which was pretty unbelievable around it. And if you come look now, and you're all invited, you'll see that second structure coming up right now. It's becoming a thing.
Why is it working? Right. So, I mean, there's other places that are trying to do other similar things. There are other places that had worked in the past and aren't working now. Like what's the special sauce that's making it work for you guys at this point?
Yeah.
Is there that many Hokies out there that just want to be a part of
it? We're friends with everybody. And then on game day, we go to our respective corners, but then we come back and we're all good.
I don't know that we some of us constantly stay away from the Hokies. I'm doing you a favor by letting you be on this show today. I am not a Hokie fan.
Which I'm humbled and grateful, my friend. Humbled and grateful. So even you have a passionate heart for us Hokies. We wear on you. The Hokies wear on you. Come on, I eventually made it. I'm 119, but you eventually gave in. No, I'm here. So yeah, the secret sauce really isn't secret sauce. Okay, so you may know that I sit on the board and the executive committee of the International Association of Research Parks. So we have over 150 research parks around the country, including a lot of the big ones that you guys know. Research Triangle Park, Centennial Park, Star Park in Austin, parks in Mississippi State and other places and other big universities in there. But it was called university-based research parks. Right now it's AURP. It's who we are. Okay, so Zack, to your question, what we know is every one of these are unique and they're built upon the assets in your region and or your town, which are uniquely yours. And so for us, we have a ton of assets around deep tech and others. And the reason this is working and will work even further is because right now, what we have realized is innovation is the opportunity to create what we are and what we want to be using products and services that actually make a difference. Big things are made here. We want to give a place part of it. So that's the first part of the strategy, is to establish a place. It grounds us. It gives us a sense of identity. It becomes the base. So Zack, when we start to put those in place, as you and Tim will allude, the next part is activating space. Activating space, or we want to call it programming around it, that's uniquely related to the regions we're in. So first of all, we're establishing place. We're curating the kinds of businesses that are part of what is Tech Center. And the idea is to inspire those of us who are watching this, or those of us who have great ideas, to move that idea from idea to impact. And so we are very methodically pushing that forward with a mix of big companies and small companies, Zack, because we know companies and industries and sectors go through cycles. And we wanted to make sure we create a region, a place that is sustainable and able to sustainably grow through those cycles. And that's kind of the baseline of peeling this onion back for you and for others here. It's very intentional in terms of approach, guys.
Remind me again, how many you just broke ground on building 2? There's a total of 10 that are planned. Is that right?
Yeah. So at full build out, the vision is for 1 million square feet. Now to put this in perspective, so we're part of the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Enterprise. So think about Blacksburg's, right? So Blacksburg, where Brett is, has somewhere around 250 acres, well over like 1.4 million square feet, about 33 buildings. You can see it's spread out, right? It's a beautiful campus. This vision, think about it, Tim, what you just said, is 1 million square feet. We're probably on about 55 acres, dense. And the density is designed to create collisions. Those collisions are designed to spur innovation.
Well, the thing that's really interesting is that based on that time frame, and as you just alluded to, I mean, there's cycles. And so we'll see some different evolutions that take place. And then by you all spacing out the build out, that allows you all to be really flexible in terms of, oh, maybe building number 6 needs to have this, and building number 8 needs to focus on that. So that's really cool within itself.
Yeah, Tim, you picked it up perfectly, and that's exactly right. And the essence of this strategy is they're demand driven. So the good news, they have the commitment of somebody like W.M. Jordan and the vision of Johnny Lawson behind this. This patient, there's a patient capital because you're creating a whole legacy. We're changing the face of the peninsula and hopefully impacting the region and beyond by this work. And there is a strategy and a vision associated with this. And so what you just said, it allows us to tune and learn along the way. That requires humility, right? We don't want to build something no one wants. We say that in place, and it's the number 2 reasons most of these early startups fail, because they don't do the customer discovery. And so we're living what we're preaching and living what we're teaching. And we're saying, okay, what can we learn from building 1 that we can put in building 2 around place that will help and enable the companies that live here to be more successful? And that's the approach we're taking to it. And it's important that you pick up on that, as well as the other listeners that are joining us here.
How do you understand what that is? What questions are you asking to get the actual answers that can help make that next step? Because I feel like a lot of companies wouldn't know what they need, even if they give you an answer. So how do you kind of figure that out?
Yeah. So here's and Tim will notice, it's funny. It's about customer discovery on steroids. And what we mean by that is when you're out talking and interviewing people, Zach, and companies, they may not know exactly what they want, but if we ask open-ended questions and then seek insights, we can help develop solutions to problems. So here's the example. They may not know exactly what they want, but they know the jobs to be done, the problems or pains associated with getting that done, and or the gains, if in fact nirvana, if it was it. So they may not be able to talk to you specifically, I want this, but our job is to listen and gain insight. And insight allows us to create products and services that help solve problems and create opportunities. So it is seriously doing that job of listening, Zach, around what it should be.
Is there even a time frame to complete all of the build out of the buildings, or is
what I say is market driven, Tim? Right now, here's the great news. Think about what we did. We started building 1. I guess ribbon cutting was August of 19. Okay, this building's already full. Then we had this little thing called a pandemic right in the middle of it. And everybody here, everything changed. Okay, and here's what the everything changed was. So Tim, you coming to us from, studios probably at home, I'm sure. I don't know.
That is correct. Yep.
Okay, so I'm sitting in my office, right? So heretofore, now you and I both would have probably been in some office somewhere, Zach as well, and we would all be doing this. Okay, so here's what's changed. Our whole world has changed. Why? Because they're in this hybrid work systems. Sometimes you work at home, sometimes you are in the office, sometimes you don't want to be in either one of them, which really starts to bring together this idea of co-working. So then people think about co-working and think, oh my God, how do we stay 6 feet? Well, if you think of something like Here With Us, Gather, right? So Gather has a mix of offices as well as co-working space. What we learned is a lot during this pandemic. And what we learned is that we need each other. Innovation needs each other. I love Zoom. Zoom is fine, or whatever video system that we have. They're fine, but they don't take the place of you and I talking to each other, creating these collisions, and you saying, man, Jeff, I'm struggling with blank. And I say, well, have you ever talked to Zack, these are the collisions, or, I've got something that might be interesting to you. We need each other. And so if you're in this building of creating innovation districts or research parks, you have to then now be nimble enough to say, wait a minute, we need to create different kinds of spaces. Now they're more hoteling. In other words, Zack is dropping in, Tim's dropping in. We're together for 2 days or a day and a half, and then we're not. Our spaces now have to reflect that. And so you can't do that if you just start cookie cutting what you do.
Right.
You have to be demand driven, and you have to use customer discovery to figure out what works and what company's looking for.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that there's this is the best part about technology.
The chair recognizes the fellow with the black t-shirt.
We're just so excited to talk to you, Jeff, that we all are. We have so many questions, but go ahead, Zack. Mine's more forward thinking.
So I agree that talking face to face is better than the old talking to this little camera thing that I'm just got that little green dot right there that I gotta look at. Are you finding that the kids, though, that the younger generation is game with that? Because you're associated with so many, not just Virginia Tech, but the research parks of the world. Like, is that? I feel like this is one of those things where it's like we still think Facebook is cool. Maybe we don't, but like we think Facebook's cool, but it's not. It's like there's other things that other people are on at this point, but we just stick onto this thing. Like, is that building into the future, or are we just hoping that stays? I mean, I think face to face is incredibly important. But are the youth, are the kids of the world, are the younger entrepreneurs, are the younger businesses seeing that same way? Or what are you saying?
I love your question, and let me just be real clear about this. The evolution of who we are as humans is never going to change. We in fact need each other, Zack. Now the question becomes, how do we need each other? We are now experiencing this time where we had to social distance. I think we're going to be understanding the impact of that for years. I think I looked at one of your Fervent Four previous episodes, Tim, where you had someone who was in the medical field, mental health, and I believe recently. Am I right about that, Tim?
Yep.
Okay. And I listened to a part of it, and she could not have been more on point. So Zack, I'm saying it's going to be and not or. Mm-hmm. They're not mutually exclusive. We're going to be able to use this. We'll talk about this. I'm working with entrepreneurs and teams from around the country right now via this medium that are on both coasts, right? And it's great. We're getting to know each other. But I think one of the things we understood is it's hard to build a relationship from scratch this way. So we tried to do a hybrid approach. We met, we worked together, and then we went apart. And it just set the groundwork for us to work and use this medium. So I think it's going to be but you will hear this guy say, we need each other as people. There are things that I can't pre-program. When I went for coffee and I saw Tim and we chatted about not being able to hear well on these things, and I've got somebody working on new technology to be able to do this, that it would be difficult for that to happen, Zack, if we had to try to schedule it.
The water cooler effect.
It was whatever. If they're really a term, I'm just speaking through my hypothesis, which I will put big money on, $1.25 and a coffee. I mean, I'm a big spender.
Can't even get a quarter cup of Starbucks for that.
Look at there, man. Hey, I got mine. So if you guys see me lifting it, this thing keeps me going. Yeah. Seriously, I couldn't feel more strongly about that, Zack, than I do.
I think it's definitely to your point, very specific. Like, to me, the iPhone could not be created in a hybrid environment. You have to be next to one another to create something like a hardware, or an iPhone, or any type of hardware. You've got to be together. Software is a different story. There's tons of collaboration that can go on, but Yeah, I agree. It definitely is a or. It's
One
and.
other point to underscore that you or may not know, maybe Tim, you and I talk about, I love music. And at one point, I thought I wanted to be a musician, right? And if
We all
you've
did.
ever played in a band, and anybody on this call, there is a point when you get certain people together that magic happens. It is unbelievable, and you get in this thing called flow. And many of you on this call will know what that is. And that's that zone when I'm playing something, you and I aren't talking, but you're feeling me, I'm feeling you. Companies and businesses get in flow.
Yep.
When you get in flow, you're creating products and services, and he's got this covered and she's got that covered, and you're here, and it's in. We need to have an opportunity for that to happen.
That's the best way I've ever heard it articulated.
Yeah,
You know, get jamming in a band, putting them together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you're not doing it on the phone.
Right.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's it. I mean, so like that's I don't know if you say that a lot, but like you should like articulate that. That's spot on. I'm just sitting here like, yep, that makes sense. Yep. I tried being in a band once. You know,
Yeah.
3rd grade, 5th grade, something like that. I got kicked out. You just didn't gel. You know, haven't played music since. You know, I've been listening to Taylor Swift, you know, ever since. And you know, I don't know why it isn't working, but you know, I just wanted to take Tay in my life, and no one else did.
It's never too late, man.
It's too late.
You know,
my mom is the only person who thinks I'm a good singer, and I'm not gonna. She's just lying to me.
Hey, maybe your role is not to sing. Maybe your role is to arrange. You say that sounds great with that. Hey, Tim, hit this one. Jeff, do this one. Maybe you don't sing a word.
I'll be the Simon Cowell. I'll be the Simon Cowell of the band. Bring it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense. That's kind of the way I think about it.
Yeah. No, it's totally. I'm 100% on board with that, and I'm curious. How does Virginia Tech? How does the research centers look at as you're building out? You have Blacksburg, you got Newport News. We'll touch on what's going on in Northern Virginia. What is the vision for all of the collaboration amongst the different locations? I think that's going to be super, super powerful within itself.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on it. Like right now, when you think about it, so I'd like for the audience and us to think about, if you think about the state of Virginia and you think about a node down in Blacksburg and Southwest Virginia geographically, and then you come east and you come to us in Hampton Roads, and then you go north to Northern Virginia and you start to connect the dots. So there is a war for talent. So imagine recruiting to the state of Virginia and say, if you're recruiting from parts of Europe, they will look at Blacksburg and say, oh my goodness, this reminds me of some parts of home, maybe. If you're recruiting for urban and you say, hey, well, if you go and walk the streets of Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C., you're as urban as you can get on the East Coast. And then if you want water and history and the kinds of things that we have here, then you got here. Imagine telling that story to prospective businesses, to entrepreneurs, to individuals that says, look, when you think about what we're putting together and what's happening here, and you connect those dots, talent, technology, suppliers, customers, capital, human and financial can move throughout it. And so we want to build pipelines between these nodes. And so you can imagine how powerful that can be.
That's exciting. It's exciting to think about what could happen. What, as listeners are hearing this, early stage founders, what's the best way to get in touch with you? How do they get connected with all the resources that are put in place?
Yeah, well, as was pointed out, we're all on social media. You can hit us on LinkedIn, of course. That's out there. You'll also come to our website, innovatetechcenterva.com, and check that out. I think it's on your screen as well, so you guys can see that. Reach out via all means of social media as well. And in the end, if you guys are connected with the Fervent Four, then you're connected with me, because Tim has a way of reaching me anytime he needs to, as well as Zack. So I encourage your listeners to if you want to talk about this, if you want to come check us out, please do so. We're very approachable. Remember, we're starting with place, and then we're moving toward activating said place. And you're starting to see the early parts of that. And now is the great time to be part of what we're doing here at Tech Center. And I need the help.
Yeah.
So I and others, we need the help.
One thing that I heard last week before, was a meeting with Tom Walker with Drone Up. They're doing great things, but one of the things that he hit on that's really, really exciting that our area needs to leverage is the fact that Drone Up is now at the place where they're actually attracting talent from Silicon Valley and from Austin to move to Virginia. I mean, to me, that's a really, really important first step to get those bright minds to move here.
Well, and so what happens is, think about it. The innovation and the work that Drone Up has done, right? It's the early stage. So if you think about where I'm in Tech Center, I'm giving you another visual. So usually in my class and others that we teach in it, think left to right. Left edge is that edge where those ideas are. Right is actually commercialization, marketplace, impact, kind of doing things. So you guys got that visual metaphor I'm talking about. So we're focusing on, Tim, that left edge, that pre-accelerator. You haven't heard me use these terms because people get all lost in terminology and things start to put you in a box. But I like to think of a continuum. So that far left edge, we're working at that left edge with these large federal labs and others to take those ideas and intellectual property and advance innovation, advance it to innovation, identify business models. Those business models actually create companies like Drone Up and others. Those companies license said technology from, proven technology from places like NASA, Langley, and Jefferson Lab and others. And these companies then are building, these entrepreneurs are building high-tech, high-growth, built-to-scale companies like Drone Up and others. These companies are going to attract talent, and they're going to need talent. That talent is going to drive the economic growth and development here in the region we're in.
100%.
And it's going to attract the talent. That's the sort of the view of that. Right. I mean,
and IV Watch is another. That's in Tech Center. That's another example.
That's another example. Take that idea, and then if you have a passion around helping people, no one wants to get infection when the hospital been being treated. So if your passion is around making a difference there, create the sensors that are necessary to detect infections before they become a problem. Now you're doing something you love. Gary Warren and others here at Ivy, you're doing something you love. It's your passion. You're solving a problem. It has a purpose, and you're using innovation as a means to make that happen. Take that model and apply it to other areas. Some of the areas we're working in now, think about this. There are places that don't have access to clean water. There's technologies and innovations originally designed to sustain life on other planets, et cetera, in the work that NASA's doing. As a result of that, they have intellectual property and they have innovation around that. With the right people, the right passion, focused on the right problem, could we advance that innovation to create an opportunity to develop new products and services that can help bring clean water to people who don't have access to that water? That's the kind of work we're doing now. It is not necessarily, this is deep tech work that are really formed around problems and solutions. That attracts additional talent. When we talk about, hey, not my company, let me tell you what my company's doing. My company is bringing clean water when there was none. We're bringing internet connections to points of the globe that they had none. that's something, whether you live in San Francisco or whether you live in Austin or you live in Boston or if you live in Raleigh, you can get your head around. And that will allow us to attract people.
I can't remember who said this, but it was it's one of Pharrell's really good friends who's on stage at the Elephant in the Room piece event at Norfolk State, maybe in March, April of this year, I believe. And his musician, I think it's his best friend. I can't think of his name. I was trying to look it up, but I can't think of who it is. But he's from here, and he said, so we can't release music here because we don't get the love that we get in other places. We have to go to other places to release this, our newest hits, our newest songs, and then we come back here and then we get the love.
I think it
kind of seems like
Pusha T.
Yeah, Pusha T. Yeah, that's who it is. And so, if you type in Pharrell's friends, everything that pops up is something in the water, and it's just like, and then apparently Pharrell has a song called Best Friends. Like it didn't work for me. So Pusha T said this, and I thought it was really interesting because I feel like the kind of business community is the same way. They're like, no, we want you to bring in this other company instead of really homegrown and tell the story and really celebrate and love and help these companies that are there. As I hear the Ivy Watches, the Drone Ups, and some of these other companies that we've talked about over every episode, is there something to that where the local community doesn't push these companies the way that Pusha T has said that the music world doesn't with local music, with him in that case? Like, and is that something that we can really fix, or how would you fix that challenge, if you agree or not?
Yeah, no. So I think it's interesting. So first of all, you both know me. I'm an optimist. I'm always going to see the positive side of this, period. So here's the point. So that might be Pusha T's experience, and that's great. Here's my perspective. We're creating an environment here at Tech Center where innovation can land and grow. Whether we grow that innovation out of intellectual property that's right next to me in Jefferson Lab, or it comes from the mind of each one of you, or it comes from NASA Langley. So Jeff will say, there's an opportunity for us to create it. If we create products and services that make a difference, we'll get the support that we need. I'm just taking the high road, Zach. We are going to do that, and we're doing. So our role here at Tech Center and what we're doing and what I'm doing. So you might say, then why don't we hear a lot? Or we do, because I'm at that early stage on the left edge. The risks are very high. We're working to de-risk that intellectual property to make it such that investors and others can say, oh, this is something that we want to make it investable, right? And whether that's created here or there, we're doing that work right now. Now, the challenge around that is because they're so early, those kinds of things, we have to put a lot into it behind the scenes to get it, to push it to the right on that continuum so that it is investable and so we can move it. So I'm saying, okay, we're creating a place for that to occur, Zach, that early stage. And so, which means, an opportunity like this, what do we need? We need this sort of, and I'm not saying, we're going to need this early investment in those kinds of technologies. And when I say investments, we're talking about high risk kinds of things on the far left edge that we're trying to move forward. And so we have to build a mechanism and a way to support them to be able to move and advance that innovation down that continuum. So we're going to need to attract the kind of capital. Maybe that capital is here. And again, we don't have to get into a deep discussion of that, but or grants or 10 cups or however we need to do it to support this local innovation and to make sure that they're creating something that somebody wants. We have to be creating, and that's through the customer discovery work. That's us understanding where it can go. We can do that here, and we're going to do it. You're going to see many, many more medical device. You're going to see health data exchange kind of things that come from here. You're going to see satellite. You're going to see more efficient solar cells come from here. Alternative energy. We got this whole big project going off on the the east coast of in the Atlantic off of Portsmouth. That whole thing, you're going to see that, and a lot of that's going to come from here, Zach. We're pushing that and we're supporting that. And so if there's anybody who's watching this who have those ideas and believe they have to go somewhere else, that early stage, we want you to come talk to us here. And we're gonna sit down and map it out and make it happen. And that's what we're creating.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's just, you all are just a perfect place because you have that long-term vision. So when it comes to deep tech, that's also long-term vision. I mean, it's just, it just, everything, as you know, Jeff, better than just as well as we do. I mean, it's that 7-year overnight success story. I mean, it doesn't just happen. You have to continue to work and grind through it, and then it will eventually happen.
Yeah. I mean, what people got to know that, listen, there's different types of innovation. So if you don't hear all the noise that you think a lot of it is noise. It is noise. And that whole signal to noise ratio is out of whack. Okay. So what I'm talking about, if you're talking about deep tech and products and services that you heard me mention that maybe come out of innovation, those things, they take time. That 7-year curve that you just talked about was primarily apps. Primarily try to do that with a nuclear detector, kinds of technology that would come out of a place like Jefferson Lab, or nuclear medicine. That 7-year period is tough. So you have to have a longer planning horizon. And I'll say one other thing. Traveling the world as I have, here's one of the things I feel is important. And again, this is Jeff's disclaimer. Our key point of differentiation, not only here as a nation, is our ability to innovate from a white piece of paper. You give some people a white piece of paper and it'll be deer in the headlights. They'll be frozen. But once you start drawing on it, they'll say, oh, well, take that one and move it this way. And now you're on a roll. But we have a unique ability to create from a white piece of paper. And I think this opportunity we're creating here around innovation is our point, is the difference that makes a difference. But you got to be willing to invest in the very early stage. And you got to be okay with things that don't go the way you planned it. And you got to be okay with pivoting, a term a lot of people like to use. But the horizon on these kinds of things are longer term. And what I was going to say about traveling the world, if you go to other parts of the world, particularly Asia, when we talk about plans, I used to be as you both know, I come from corporate. So we had 90-day public companies. Every 90 days, we had to go before the analysts and give our Q. And then we give our K. And we have to stand up and defend our ability to profitably grow this entity, right? And we have to predict where we're going to go with only a few basis points, so we either get killed or not. Okay, even if we're right or wrong on any other side of it. Whole nother story. But our planning horizon, if you think about it, we have to articulate a long-term vision on 90-day cycle. We go to other parts, particularly Asia, they says, well, within the next 50 years, we're going to be the medical whatever in the next 50 years. Dude, I'm thinking 90 days. Because I got to go before the analysts and tell them why I hit or missed my number. Okay? And so this horizon and what you hear about Tech Center and what we're doing here and the work of Virginia Tech, the work of VTCRC, the work of developers like WM Jordan and our team here in the city and City of Newport News and all the officials that are part of this, we have to understand that it is not going to happen overnight. It is longer term, but you see us moving. It's the essence of strategy, right? We create that vision and you see us now putting these milestones along the way. And oh yeah, the noise will get louder. I mean, we'll amp up what you hear and see with Tech Center, but you and your audience now knows at the core of it, there is purposeful strategy associated with where we're going and what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. That we know you have a hard stop. Is there anything that we have not talked about or that you would like to make sure that you touch on before we wrap?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that we talk about, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, and here we go with a couple minutes left in it. If we're going to drive our region, it must be inclusive. Okay.
Amen.
We have to listen. We can't be afraid to have this conversation. And we need to say, how do we create these high tech, high growth, built to scale tech companies that are led by those who are normally underrepresented and or women as CEOs and leaders on the cap table? That's the work that we're doing right now behind the scenes. So right now I have 22, I think it's 22, Kelly will correct me when we're done, 22 teams of entrepreneurs who are definitely part of this, part of our NASA Science and Technology Accelerator, who are working on the kinds of businesses and solutions we're talking about right now. It's 12 weeks. We're in week 6. And many of them are probably listening now, right?
And we want all of them on the show.
Well, if you want them, we'll get the kinds of technologies that they're working on will blow you away, right? But it's for purpose. And before we start, and while we start, we have to have that intersection of passion, purpose, problem, and innovation. And these teams are representative. This is our second cohort. It's so successful. We've done it again and again.
Right, so from an inclusive standpoint, what are you guys doing to make sure that it's inclusive, right? So, I mean, I feel like there's like we've had people on the show and we've seen a lot of people just in general say one thing, do something completely different, right? It's just jibber jabber, right? And so I think you have to make a conscious. Personally, I think Tim and I are conscious of this. We try. We're constantly going out trying to make sure that this show is as inclusive and diverse as possible. Like, what are you guys doing to make sure that it is inclusive, it is diverse, and it's not just jibber jabber like so many other people will say?
So for those of you, both of you know me, and here it is. Authenticity matters. Here's the deal. I don't have we live it. Tim, Zach, we live it. It's not a slogan. It's not what we. It's not where we have. Show me your principles around this. We live it. Look at our cohorts. Look at the teams as we start to show you those and make all that visible. We live it. We live it, Zach. It's not lip service. We've got successful companies now coming out of this effort. Left edge. You guys got the metaphor. Very left edge. One of them. We've got folks out of Rhode Island, in many different places who come together here around this thing. We don't sit here and talk about, hey, we're going to be inclusive. We are it.
Yeah.
We don't have a slogan. I don't have a slogan. I'm not the slogan guy. Look at our teams. Look at who we are and what we do. That's what we're about. And so when I'm talking to my friends who are CEOs of other big companies and other companies, and we say, yeah, Jeff, you're my best friend, man. And how do I do this stuff? And, and they're friends like you guys. And I don't care who you are. It's like, Zach, Tim, listen, let's live it.
Yeah.
We don't even have to talk about it. Here we are in the last minute.
Walk the walk, not talk the talk, right? I mean,
it's in the last minute and the last hour, and you're talking to me, and then we talk about what we're doing around this inclusivity. Just think about what we did. You know why? Intentional, because we're living it. We're not, it's not a thing. It's who we are. Why? Because we know that in the end, we're going to have very diverse ideas and perspectives that can create new angles to solutions to problems we never thought of. Of
course.
And we're okay with,
that's a huge opportunity. People should be like jumping towards that. Like, it's like, hello, like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So that's how we're addressing that one, Zach. And I'm glad you asked that question, and I got a chance to kind of say it. And I wanted to make it explicit to those who are there. This is who we are. Come join us at Tech Center. Come be a part of this whole movement. Because in the end, our vision is much bigger than a research park.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it just dawned on me real quick. It's just like, man, one of the things Zach and I talk about this a lot. It's like one thing that this area is missing is like, what is that rally that we can get behind? Is it a professional sports team? What is it that's going to ground us? And so, like with your efforts here, what we need, we're creating professional founders and businesses, and maybe that's what we need to create, the professional sports team of entrepreneurship to rally behind, so that that's what keeps us here.
I need you guys to help us. I'm 100% with you, Tim. And that goes back to what we talked about much earlier. I delayed my 12 o'clock, by the way. My heart stopped and died as hard because you guys got me all fired up. You get me all fired up, and everybody in my class and others go, oh, Lord, here you go. There are probably those on the other side go, oh, Lord, why do you do that? But listen, here's the deal. Yeah, we need your help in crafting what that is and how I articulate it. It's clear in my mind. And those of you who know my offices and stuff, it's a whiteboard, and I'm crazy and stuff is everywhere. And I haven't gotten to that thing, Tim. It's not where I'm saying we're not creating the next laugh app. We're not creating. I'm talking about creating products and services that make a difference in our lives, that are led by those who are usually underrepresented and or females who have a lot to offer to bring to this. I don't care who you are. And as part of us making a difference, not only in the region, but beyond. So I need help articulating that story and getting it. And one of the things I will say this, everybody in my class will know, I always say this, there's great genius in simplicity. I don't need a paragraph to talk about what we're talking about. Help me figure out what it is we're trying to put our fingers on right now, Tim. Agree on it, and then let's shout it to the rafters.
100%. Yeah, I mean, something I brought up, on episode 117 when I was doing my solo act.
Without me, there it is. I'm the guy who was supposed to be on that. Everybody,
it was one of those deals. I started writing a blog post, and I mentioned it to the public for the first time. But it's just like, really, we need to build entrepreneurship like we're building a shopping mall. We need those anchor stores, just like Tech Center has Whole Foods and PF Chang's. You know, we right now, I see Drone Up, I see SVT Robotics, I see IV Watch and Instant Teams. Those are our anchor stores that we need to continue to support. And then we can fill the rest of the mall with even more left edge companies. And then all of that's just going to build everyone up. But we've got to get people to the mall. We've got to support those people. And then if you look at, I mean, I think they're doing a movie now on the PayPal Mafia, just like the spin-offs of when we can create something as big as a Drone Up. I mean, and they're just beginning, but that just continues to spin off and build more and more and more. And we just got to get that flywheel turning.
Yeah, you're right. You know, right now we're having these singles, and that's fine. They're not yet connected. Right. But it's okay because we're creating them now. So all these left edge kind of things we're talking about will be very early. So if I sit down with a VC or sit down with Angel, oh yeah, that's too early. So we're de-risking that part of it and figuring out how to get capital and resources to do that. So if you think about it, the work that we're doing with NASA Langley to commercialize and to help move and advance their IP is their investment in our efforts to help move that left edge. Once we start to get a few additional successes out of that, they become those other points, Tim. And now we start to connect the dots. We're patient. We need your help. And, we're humble enough to say, come check us out. Let's sit down. Let's have coffee. Let's talk about solutions. And we're all ears.
Yep. Jeff, this is great. I could talk another hour, but you got class.
I do. Get to class. For those listening, appreciate it. Download, subscribe this episode. And if you want to be on the show or meet Jeff, reach out to us. And thank you for listening. Jeff, that was awesome.
Hey, thanks, guys. You guys are the best. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Glad it took 119 for me to get here. You know, I'm never going to live that down. You know how they say we're number one? I'm going to be, we're number 119. Come on, Tim.
But it's forever yours.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye bye.